let's get started here. I'm just going to make this full screen real quick. All right, here. So let's go into holiday webinar. And these are actually template overlays that you can actually download from ON1. And these are just holiday overlays that one of our photographers made, Whitney Stevens. And they're incredibly easy to use, and they're great for if you're just putting photos into a template to send a quick Christmas card to your friends or family. So basically, all you have to do to use these templates is find them in your browser and then go into Edit. And once they're in Edit, if you want to add some photos onto them, just head into this Layers pane right here. And I'm going to actually add 3 different photos. So I'm going to go into this webinar demo, find the photos that I want to add. There we go. And we'll grab this one, and that one. And we'll just add as layer. This will pull in 3 photos for us. They're actually kind of big, so it's going to take a minute to pull all these photos in. But once it does, it'll add these 3 layers, and we'll actually just start out by, there we go. So they're pretty big here. So we're just going to actually turn these bottom 2 off that we added in here. And I'm just going to grab this top layer here, and I'm going to hit V on my keyboard, which is going to give me my move tool. So I'll hit V on my keyboard. Now I'm just going to pull this down until I can see the corner of it. And then I'll just hold down Shift, click and drag on the corner. There we go. And I'm just gonna line this up with this far right box over here. So we'll put it about right there. There we go. So now we'll turn that one, or this bottom one, on. Again, we'll select that layer. We'll hit V on our keyboard for the move tool, and we'll do the same thing like we did before. Sorry, they're incredibly big, so it's hard to resize. If you wanted to resize too, you could also go up here and use these different sliders right here, or not sliders, but the inputs right there. But I technically just like to go in and click and drag. So once we have that where we want it, maybe a little smaller here. There we go. Now I'll just drag this layer that I was using on top of this layer so that it kind of looks a little bit cleaner there. Now I will show this layer, and we'll do the same thing like we did before. Make sure it's selected, obviously. Then we'll just click and drag. There we go. And what I'm going to do is just kind of hover it over this photo and then just kind of make it the same width and height. So there we go. Now I'll just pull this over here, right about right there. And the next thing I'm going to do is, because these photos right here, this photo from this side and on this side, if I turn this photo off, you'll see that the box doesn't go all the way over there. So what you can do is you can turn this layer on, and you can turn down the opacity for it. And if you grab your masking bug by hitting M on your keyboard, you can grab your masking bug right here. And then what I like to do is just use this preset, I guess whatever side you're trying to mask out. We're going to use the linear left in this instance. And then we can just drop this down right on that line, move it over a little bit, and then we can just tighten up the feathering. And then we just move that opacity all the way to 100. And you can't even tell that that photo had an edge. And then we'll do the same thing for the baby photo here. And I might actually need to move it in a little bit. So I'll grab the move tool again, move it in just a hair about right there. And then same thing, grab my masking bug by hitting M on my keyboard. Linear right this time. Just drop it right there, move it over a little bit, tighten the feathering, and then up the opacity. So there we go. Okay, so now we have our photos in place. And the next thing we want to do is I want to add a little bit more style to this card. It's a great looking card, but we could obviously add, some more components into it. And it's pretty easy inside of Photo RAW to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to right click on this top layer and I'm going to stamp the layer, which basically this is going to merge these photos together, these layers, and it's going to duplicate them. And the good thing about this stamping a layer is when you duplicate those layers, it doesn't remove the original layers from your photo. So you can actually play with these other layers, but now you also have a merged together layer that you can modify and add texture and style to. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to use this layer here, which is, if I turn this off and turn this off, this is actually just all of these layers combined and merged. So I'm going to head down to Effects, and I'm just going to grab a texture here. And I'm actually going to grab, it's going to sound kind of weird, but I was playing with it earlier, and this sky layer here, it added kind of a nice glow to the background around these photos that I really liked. But it's also being applied to the entire shot, and it's all over these kids' faces, and we don't want that. So what we can do is we'll head into our masking options here by clicking this, and we'll go in and we'll actually create a color range mask. So I'll grab my color range mask by clicking this option here. And I'm just going to grab this dropper tool here, and I'm going to click it, and I'm just going to drop in this green area here. And then what I can do is I can actually go in and view my mask. And now I can start playing with the colors to really remove it from the kids' faces and whatnot. So now let's view that again. And we could probably even make it a little stronger. There we go. Turn up the opacity all the way. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to grab my masking brush, and I'm going to make sure it's set to 100 opacity, make sure it's set to paint out, and then I'm just going to paint out kind of the areas around their faces that got missed with that color range mask. And you don't have to be specific. Obviously, there's going to be style around these photos. And if you leave a little style like up here, it kind of makes like a nice little vignette and looks really nice on this photo anyway. So sometimes those styles just happen and you gotta kind of leave them. So we'll leave that as it is like that. And if I turn this off and on, you'll see it adds a nice bit of texture onto our shot here. But we can also keep adding more. So what I'm gonna do is I'll add another filter here. I'm just going to grab a texture again. And I'm gonna go into my categories here. And I recently shot a bunch of bokeh textures that you guys can download. I think they're for sale on the ON1 website, but there's 20 of them, and they're great texture overlays, especially if you're using them for holidays. They're incredibly easy to use, so let me show you how to use them real quick. So basically, I'm just gonna grab my bokeh texture category, and then I'm gonna go in here and find sort of a bokeh that I like. Let's see. How about like that? So we'll grab that one. And then what we'll do is we'll literally just go down, we'll hide this, we'll go down into our previous texture layer, we'll copy that mask, and then we'll show this one. What we'll do is we'll go into our masking options, and we'll paste that mask. But what we wanna do is we wanna maybe make it a little less obvious that there's a bunch of bokeh. So I'm actually gonna go into my blending options here, and I'm gonna use pin light. Oh, actually rather, sorry, overlay. Oops. Which one was I using earlier? We'll just leave it at normal. I think I was using pin light for the next thing I'm gonna show you guys. So we'll just leave this one at normal, and we'll just turn down the opacity a little bit so it's not so intense bokeh. Okay, so the next thing I wanna do is I wanna brighten up this little area that says Merry Christmas, because it's a little too dark and it's kind of blending in with the background. Well, easy way to do that, let's just go in and we'll add another filter, and we'll add a tone enhancer. And then we'll go into our masking options here. And we only want this Merry Christmas area to be brightened up and maybe add a little bit of color to it. So an easy way to do that is to head into your masking options like I did, click Color Range Mask, use the dropper, and then just drop it right on that red. Now we'll go into our view mode here, and then we can start playing with the color range mask. We'll just move it all the way until there's nothing but this Merry Christmas area. We can remove that too. Okay, so there we go. Now we'll view that again. And all I'm gonna do is I'm going to boost my exposure a little bit. See how that's pulling up that nice Merry Christmas text right here, but it's not pulling out any of the exposure of the other areas. So we'll just kind of pull up on it to bring it up and make it a little bit brighter. Well, I want to add some red into it. So what I can do is I'll go into my local adjustments tab. Oh, sorry, I gotta go back into effects. First, we gotta actually copy this mask, and then go into our local adjustments tab. Going to click in here, and I'm going to reset this. I'm going to go down here to this option that says paint with color. I'm going to select that. I'm going to click in this little color option area, and then I'm just going to drag it over to a nice meaty red. There we go. So now I have that, and now what I'll do is I'll literally just paste that mask in there. Maybe that's too... Sorry, I'm trying to get the color here. Maybe that's too... Let's just make this incredibly bright. Well, it's adding in some color. It looks pretty decent. Let's actually just go up here and see if we can modify it a little bit more. Actually, that color is actually kind of meshing well with this other orange color in the background. So what we're gonna do is we'll actually just go in and we'll add another effect. We'll add a filter, and we'll just add a LUTs filter. And I just love the way these LUTs stylize cards, especially if you're adding overlays and textures onto them. There's a bunch of different presets in here you can go in and modify. Oh, I really like that one. We can turn that down a little bit. But yeah, so there's a bunch of different ways that you can actually modify the card after you make it with the template. So don't feel like you're stuck to just that look of, you know, just the regular template, because you can really go in and add a bunch of different styles, especially with these templates, because you can use these color range masks and things like that, because usually these template overlays have a lot of tone or a lot of similar tonal ranges in them, because obviously they're a card, so they have big blotches of red or big areas of white that you can really use to help add in textures and things like that. So that's one example of how to create kind of a stylistic Christmas card just by using a template and then adding some textures onto it. Let me just see if there's any questions in here before I go on. And I have to make this small screen. So Harvey says, using the template, could you also have started with the template layer and selected the gray to mask it out, and then had your 3 photos show through the way you would have kept the outline around each photo from the template? And I didn't even think about that, but let's try it. So let's remove this one. And let's grab this. And we'll go in and we'll hide this photo. Oops, I don't want that. Color range mask. Oops. Sorry guys, I'm gonna go in here. I'm trying to figure out the question. That'd be better. So Harvey says, could you also have started with the template layer and selected the gray to mask it out and then have had your 3 photos show through that way? Okay, so let's move this on top. That kind of worked. Yeah, there we go. But then you have this white over here. So yeah, if you wanted to fix that, then you could go in and you could grab like the masking bug like we did before. Good looking, Harvey. There we go. Oops. And we'll just brush this part out. There we go. So yeah, great suggestion, Harvey. I really appreciate it. That was a great way to do it. So awesome job with that. And then you could just do the same thing like I did before and just right click, new stamp layer, and then you could add all those different effects onto it. Okay, so now we'll go back and we'll make a little creative composite here. So we'll go back into browse. Let me cancel out of these. Okay, once this loads up here, I'm gonna go back into browse and we're basically just gonna create sort of a simple composite with some different layers. So I found this photo on Unsplash and we'll just go into edit here, make this a large screen. And all we're gonna do is we're gonna add a new layer here. We'll add this cute photo of this baby here, Cora. And I'm gonna turn on the opacity a little bit so that I can kind of move it around and get it where I want it. And I really just want her face sort of right in the center. Right about maybe a little bit more small. Okay, so that looks pretty good there. And now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna pull this all the way to the top, 100%. And then we're gonna grab our masking brush by hitting B on our keyboard. And we're gonna make sure the feathering is 100%. We're gonna make sure it's set to paint out. And then we're gonna turn our opacity down to like 10. Just so we can gradually remove these areas from our shot. And now I'm just gonna go in and sort of big brush style, just kind of big strokes, gonna paint out the area around Cora. Do it a couple times here just to get some of the textures of that bottom layer into the photo here. There we go. Maybe just a little more over here. There we go. Okay, now I can go in and I'm actually just gonna clean up this little area down here on her face. Actually, pull my opacity up a lot more. There we go. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna add some different styles and textures onto the shot. So I'm just gonna right click this photo like I did earlier, and we're just gonna create a new stamp layer. So this is gonna merge those photos together like we did earlier, and then create a duplicate of them so that we can modify the entire photo sort of as a whole composite. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, going to go in here and add some effects to it. I'm going to add a filter. I'm going to add texture. And again, I'm just going to add some bokeh because I think bokeh looks awesome, especially in composites. It just adds sort of a different element to it. So let's find one that we like here. Perfect. Let's do this one. And sort of the same thing like we did before. I'm just going to play with sort of the opacity of it and also these blending options. And the blending options are kind of overlooked in Photo RAW, and they're really easy to use. All you have to do is click on it and literally hover over it, and it will show you what that, what that blending option is going to do. So there we go. This is the one that I was using pin light for. So now I'm clicking pin light, and oops, not the one, I guess. That was the wrong one. So which one I'm using for pin light? Okay, so let's just do lighten. Pull that back a little bit. Actually, we'll just do normal, make it easy. And then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna brush it out from Cora here. So Shift X to make it paint out. Now we can just go in and kind of paint this off her face, remove it from the areas we don't want it. And then we'll just pull that opacity down quite a bit, probably about right there. Okay, and then we'll just paint this in a little bit more. Okay, so now we have this photo here and we have some bokeh in it, and let's add another texture onto it. And let's go in and let's make it weather. Oops. There we go. And we'll make it weather, snow, light. And now we'll go in, and I think this is the one, guys, that is the pin light blending mode. So mode, and there we go, perfect. So now we're in pin light. And we'll go down to this mode here, and we'll actually make it lighter. So I kind of like how that looks. It looks like it's actually snowing. It has like this awesome snowy look to it and vibe. So we'll just brush that out again from our the face of Cora here. And then we'll turn down this texture a little bit to make it a little less crazy. And maybe paint in just a little bit of those. And then remove them if you get too much. But I kind of like how they look on the hat and whatnot. So we'll leave a little bit of that over there. Maybe pull down the opacity to about, just kind of go around. There we go. So now we have that nice snow overlay onto our shot here. And what better way to top off a nice card than some text? So let's actually just head over to our text tool here. Click on it. And let's just add some cute text. Let's make it, where's that apple pie at? Homemade apple, there we go. And we'll just name it Cora. Oops. I'm just resizing the text box so I can make it, or put more text in it. Oops, keep forgetting. There we go. Then one thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a local adjustment layer, and I'm just gonna make sure it's set to lighten and make the opacity super big. And I'm just gonna be right behind, be right behind this text and just brush this on right behind it. And then I can play with that exposure a little bit. And it's just a good way to sort of elevate that text from the background. And you can also use it in a darkening way to create sort of like a backdrop for the text without creating a backdrop for the text. So that's a quick way to create a composite of, you know, just a few different layers to create a nice little Christmas composite. Yeah, let me check to see if there's any questions before I move on here. Let me get out of full screen mode. No, so no questions so far. Let's do one more here. And this is just going to be a pretty quick one. I'll make this full screen for you guys after this goes in and loads. I hope all you guys are having an awesome few weeks before the holidays. I know it's been pretty busy around the office for us, but it's kind of dying down as we get closer to Christmas. Hope you guys even stayed tuned for, or even attended Live Week too, because that was a great little thing. We had a great time doing that for you guys. So once this closes out, there we go. Okay, so now we're back into browse, and let's grab this photo here. And we're just gonna create, you know, another nice little stylistic card that you can send to people. So let's just click our crop tool here, and let's crop it to a 4x5 so it can be a postcard here. Probably about right there. Enter. And now what we're gonna do is we're just going to start adding textures. So let's go into effects. Actually, I'm gonna make this big screen here for you guys. We'll add a filter. We'll add a texture. And I've actually imported a Firework photo. So I'll just go and add holiday. And we'll make this 80 there. And what we're gonna do now is we want this texture on the photo, obviously, but we don't want it to be on the water. So we're gonna go in and we'll go into our masking options, grab our color range mask, select this nice yellow here, view it, we'll invert it, and let's view it again. And there we go. Yeah, it's not on the glasses at all. So it's right in the background. So there we go. We have this nice firework texture to kind of add some flair onto our shot here. We'll add another filter. But before we do that, let's copy this mask real quick. We'll add another filter. Go in and we'll add some more bokeh. Can't get enough of the bokeh. And that one looks actually pretty good. Let's see if there's a better one. I don't think so. That one. We'll use this one. And same thing. Paste. And boom. Now it's on the background entirely. And what we can do is we can play with the different opacities and whatnot. But I think that looks pretty good so far. So we'll just add some more style to it. I'm just going to go in and I'll add a filter. And I'll add a LUTs filter. And let's see what some of these are doing. I like that. We'll grab that one. Yeah, there we go. So we'll grab that one, and then what we'll do is we'll grab a vignette, big softy. We'll add a filter. Let's add some borders. And now what we can do is we'll just grab this text tool over here. And I'll show you one way to add text, and then we'll do another way. So let's just add Happy New Year. And we'll make it this nice, where's it at? There we go, cuisine. Enter that. And we'll just make this a nice sort of dark blue. Move that up here. There we go. And so yeah, that's a quick way to create an easy, fun, fast Happy New Year card that you can send to all your friends. We'll do one last way to put in text here, and then I'll leave you guys to your own editing. And let's just add a new layer, and we'll add extras, backgrounds, holiday overlays, and let's just do this Happy New Year one. So if you add a photo onto if you add a layer onto a shot and it has it has white in the background, just grab your masking brush, make sure you have the perfect brush selected, and you can brush it out. Or, oops, you can go into your masking options, grab a color range mask, and then click on the white. Oops. Oops. You know what? We're gonna reset that, and we're just gonna go in and brush this out the old school style. There we go. Cool. Now you can just grab that by hitting V on your keyboard, carry this up there. And then if you wanted to, you could grab a local adjustment, and you could paint it with color. We'll do maybe this yellow. There we go. And we'll just brush this on. Oh, perfect brush is on. Duh. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. Oops. Okay. So there we go. So that's a quick and easy way to create an awesome Christmas card using some templates, and then to create a basic composite that you can add some style to, and then quickly create a Happy New Year card. Let me check the questions real quick before I get out of here. Okay, so all right. So Kate is asking how to export the file for sharing. So if you want to export a photo, there's a few different ways you can do it. Probably the easiest way is to, if you're in Browse or Edit, whatever it may be, you head down to this right over here. There's an export button right here. You can just click on it, and it will generate a preview and render your photo, and then you can choose basically all the different options to export your photo. So we have photo size, you can add a watermark, sharpening, tiling, gallery wrap. Basically everything that's in resize you can do within this export drawer here. And my probably favorite to export is just to click on File and then Quick Export. You don't really get to choose any of those other options like file size and watermark, but it's just a quick way to export your photo. So with that being said, let me close out of this real quick. And yeah, so if there's no more questions, I'm just gonna leave you guys to your holiday editing. And thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it, and hope that gave you guys an insight on how to create some holiday looks and creative compositing for the holidays. So thanks guys, I really appreciate it. Have a great day.